Hi, you guys. Karen Curry Parker here with your weekly Human Design Evolution Report. This week, we are going to explore the creative process and revisit the idea of what is creativity. We have a tendency to talk about creativity as being art or music or poetry, and we neglect to look at the innate creative capacity that each and every one of us carry and hold. You are creative. You are creating in your life right now. The world you are experiencing, your perceptions, those places where you have encounters and you respond to those encounters perhaps with deliberation and consciousness, or when you fail sometimes to respond to those stimuli with consciousness and intention. Everything in our reality is a function of our creative essence. And when we limit creativity to just being about art or music or poetry, we're forgetting that we are, each and every one of us, incredibly powerful and insanely creative. Which brings me to the themes of this week. We have in the Human Design Year 4 creative quarters. Those 4 creative quarters each contain a theme that is supportive of our fulfilling our creative intentions for the arc of a journey around the sun, 365-ish days. So over the course of every calendar year, we have the opportunity to explore our intentions, to meet our goals, to create, hopefully, an expansion in our lives that brings us each year closer and closer to a more richer, more deep, more juicy fulfillment of who we really are. Each one of those quarters has a theme that supports this creative process, and contained with each one of those quarters is our repetitive themes that are kind of microcosmic, if you will, expressions of the macrocosmic annual cycle. So we have 4 quarters that sort of have repetitive themes within them. Those themes are being brought to you through the different archetypes, the 64 gates in human design, the 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. So we're looking at subtle differences in those archetypes over the course of the year, but thematically, there's some key parts of the creative process that repeat themselves over and over again in macrocosmic and microcosmic levels. So we talk a lot, and we have been talking a lot in the last few years about deliberate creation, right? The process of intending and manifesting. And we have a tendency to put our energy more on the manifesting piece, right? What are we going to manifest? That's only natural in a generator world and in a world that defines a lot of its value based on what you've done, what you've accomplished. So manifesting is kind of a measurement, right, of how good you are at deliberate creation. I want to invite us this week to explore what's necessary for us to put the deliberate back into deliberate creation and shift our focus a little bit. 1, because it feels better. 2, because it increases our capacity to create peace and a greater degree of alignment with what's really possible in the human story. And 3, because it actually will increase what you manifest. So let's talk about the 7 core steps, the 7 core essences that are necessary for you to create what you want in your life, and reflect on the fact that these 7 core themes kind of repeat themselves over the course of each of the human design quarters, and over the arc of the whole human design year, they sort of play out in a bigger level. So the first step in creating what you want is having an intention. Having a goal, a direction. The way I like to think of it is your intention is a story about who you are that maybe is bigger than where you are right now, but is a story that is juicy enough and passionate enough that it calls you forward to continue to grow into that story even when the going gets rough. The second thing that you need is alignment. You have to do a deep dive exploration when you look at your personal narrative, that intention, about how closely aligned are you by the meanings that you hold about those ideas or the beliefs that you have related to that intention. Meaning this, if you have an identity or a story or a narrative you're trying to live into, and you've got hiccups in your belief system about your ability to fulfill that story, it's going to make it hard for you to really bring that story about into form. The third thing we need is we've got to have faith, because it takes time in the earthly dimension to create whatever it is that we want. And we have to be able to have faith that it's unfolding, even if we don't have any evidence yet that it's coming about. We need to be able to continue to have the faith, the strength, the capacity to hold the template of what it is that we're creating, so that we can keep paying attention and aligning ourselves and moving ourselves forward. Which brings me to the fourth element that we need, and that fourth element is patience. We can't push divine timing. We can influence it by getting ready, by being ready, but we can't change divine timing. And so sometimes part of creating what we want means we've got to be patient and let it unfold in its right time. The next element is curiosity. The entire matrix within which you are swimming, which you probably, because this is sort of a trap of being in a third dimensional reality, you think is out there, is actually just an expression of all of you, inside and out, up and down. And this matrix that you're engaging with on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis, is going to give you cues and clues as to what's the next right step to take to bring whatever it is you're seeking to manifest into form. So when we look at human design and human design strategy, what we know from human design is that every type, including the manifestor type, has a certain amount of weighting in it. And that weighting is really about giving you the time to explore that reality, that outer reality, and start looking for the cues and clues to show you what the next right step is. It precludes you having to figure out what to do next. It lets the cues and the clues reveal themselves, and so you can, with great curiosity, begin the exploration of what's showing up in response to your faith, your alignment, your intentions, everything we've just been talking about. The next thing that shows up, the next part of the creative process, is we respond. Not in the generator way, but in the human way. We look at what shows up, the cues and the clues, and then we take action based on what shows up. So we are constantly in this cosmic dance with this seemingly outer reality. It's not really the outer reality, but it seems like it is, right? We're in this constant dance, exploring through our own experience of this reality, what's the next piece that we want to create, the next step in our expansion, which leads us to, of course, the final step, which is expansion, which means once you get the cues and the clues and you start heading in the right direction and things start to show up, you can look at what's showing up and say, hey, yeah, I want some more of that, and start that creative process all over again by setting new intentions, new goals, new visions for what else is possible for your life. Or you can go, no, that wasn't what I wanted. And that expression, that experience too, of going, no, not so much of that, something different, is also leading you back to step one, setting new intentions, new directions. This week, the sun starts in the gate 40, the gate of resourcefulness. The earth is grounded in the gate 37, the gate of inner peace. This brings into completion the channel of administration. So what happens with this channel is we are given the energy when the spirit is right, when the emotions are aligned, when we are fulfilled, meaning we have the resources available. We then make agreements, we share, we partner with each other in collaborating around what we have and how we can best administrate it, right? This is what is the heart of community, the heart of family, and at the heart of our agreements in our more intimate relationships. The sun in the 40 says you need alone time. You need time to recalibrate, resource, reconnect with yourself, reconnect with your purpose, to replenish your energy bank, if you will, so that when your cup is full, you can go into these agreements with a full cup and then share with each other. But there's a little bit of a red flag here, and that red flag says if your resources are not full, if your cup is empty, it's very hard for you to come into your community or in your partnerships and make good and healthy agreements. What tends to happen is We get into our partnerships when our cups are empty, and instead of saying, I need to go take care of myself, I'm coming to the table with not very much to offer, we instead oftentimes project onto other people or our partner, hey, you should be filling my cup. You should be coming to my rescue. You should be doing all the work. You should be making all the money. I'm tired right now. And then we create tension and even sometimes heartbreak in our relationships because we failed to really have good, clear communication about, hey, my cup is empty and I'm needing a little bit of support. That gets even more complicated sometimes when both people or people in a community are all sort of empty cupped, if you will, and we're all trying to negotiate what we need and want and how we can share, and we don't have anything to negotiate with. So in order for us to create good, healthy, sustainable agreements and for us to have more to administer, more to share, we have to first be coming at these negotiations into community or into communion with each other with full cups. To be able to really give ourselves permission to take a break, a pause, whatever we need to do to get ourselves back into a state of recalibration, we have to be grounded in the 37, which is harmony, which is sometimes called inner peace. We need to find that practice, that boundary sometimes, that place that we need to set for ourselves so that we do have the ability through retreat to really get resourced, restocked, replenished so that we can come back to the table with a full cup and to be able to have high quality, high-minded, sustainable, abundant dialogues about how do we negotiate the collaboration and the expansion that we want to create. So this energy this week sort of correlates to the patience part of the creative process, that waiting piece, right? And the faith piece, right? If I take care of myself, I have the faith that I will cultivate more than enough, so then ultimately I'll be able to not only sustain myself, but sustain the people I care about. The sun moves on Thursday into the gate 64, the gate of divine transference, and the earth moves into the gate 65. Sorry, the gate 63. There is no gate 65. The gate 63, the gate of curiosity. So we move midweek into the energy of exploring with curiosity. Again, part of that creative process, right? This is step 5, exploring with great curiosity what's out there, what's happening, what else is possible, which clues and cues are showing up. What, with the power of my imagination, can I explore creating next? Big disclaimer here. This is an energy that is about being inspired, that is about receiving a transference of inspiration from the divine, about being curious about what's next, but it's not energy for figuring things out, but it can feel that way. So certainly by the end of the week, we've had our little pause and now we're like trying to figure out what do we do next. Don't figure it out. Be curious, be open-minded, be willing to be inspired. And even if you are inspired, don't worry about figuring it out. The rest of those pieces unfold in the creative process all by themselves. There's nothing you have to do to make this part happen. Couple of quick notes for the week. We have a full moon on Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on where you are on the planet. This full moon lights up the energy of the gate 37. Again, that harmony and inner peace. A big reminder for us to make sure that we're taking stock of anything we need to let go of, release, align, heal, etc., in order to create a deeper state of peace and alignment in our own personal lives. And we have 5 planets in retrograde. We've got Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all in retrograde. So that kind of is a bigger arching theme of cosmic pause, wait, show up, and just breathe and be curious. Don't do anything. This pause cycle is, again, a beam from the cosmos inviting us to remember that when we go into situations that require of us to be resilient, for us to be conscious and deliberate in the way in which we create, we have to go into those situations with our cup full. I don't want to be ominous and scary, but I'm going to say the cosmic weather for the rest of the year is pretty bumpy. And for us to be able to be resilient, to be sustainable and endure and be able to cultivate the changes at hand, we have to go into that process resourced ourselves. So really do continue to do what I've been telling you to do for months now. Stock up on your energy, stock up on your resourcefulness, stock up on your ability to be resilient by taking care of yourself and making sure you've got all the resources you need to be able to be sufficient, to be sustained, to be enduring during this cycle of transformation that we are still knee deep in until February of 2021. So have a good week. Take good care of yourselves.